Hey guys, Alec Torelli here. I'm bringing you this video from outside of Reykjavik, Iceland, where my poker journey has taken me, and I want to share some 5 strategies that could help almost any poker player improve their win rate right away. I put this out on Twitter a few days ago, and the post got a lot of attention, some controversial takes, so I'd like to elaborate a little bit more on them here and explain why I said what I did. So the first thing that people should know is that this doesn't necessarily apply to everyone. The rules are meant to be broken. There's not like one rule, one size fits all. And obviously if you're a very successful professional or you have strong emotional control, whatever, some of these things won't apply to you. And there's certain situations where you might want to break the rules. So you have to take everything, especially on Twitter, with nuance. The first rule that I have that I think is helpful for most poker players is to avoid private games. Now, this is different than home games, right? Home games are games with friends where, you buy in $100, you're not raking anything, and you're not at risk of getting cheated, you're not gonna get robbed, you're playing with a small amount of money, and it's there to have fun. Those things are great. Those are a great part of poker culture, especially in the US. It's like a huge thing, and home games are awesome. Private games, on the other hand, are different. And there's 3 things you wanna be mindful of in private games, which make them very complicated and challenging to win long-term. The first is there's high rake. People that are running private games have an incentive to do it. They do it as a business. Oftentimes they're charging an amount of money per hand. They're raking money out of the pot where it's punitive. It's so much money that it makes the game almost impossible to beat except for maybe 1 or 2 players. The second risk in a home game is not getting paid. Typically how home games work is they play on credit because people don't want to bring money to the games because it creates physical risk if there's a lot of money in a certain environment. So people play on credit. Now if Peter doesn't pay the home game host, you have to rely on the home game host to pay out of his pocket to pay you that money. Now it all works until it doesn't. And I've seen many stories in which someone says, oh, I didn't get paid from Johnny, I don't owe you money, and it all collapses. The third is that you have to avoid getting cheated. There are numerous ways where people can cheat in a home game. You have to be very mindful of that. All of these are non-zero probabilities. When you add all these up, it makes private games profoundly different than playing in a casino or a home game with friends. Rule number 2 is avoid loaning money. The best thing that could happen is you get paid back. I've heard numerous stories of people that unfortunately don't get paid back for whatever reason. And if you think about it, one of the things that gets between friends is money. So if you can avoid creating this problem, it won't present a challenge in the future because you just nip it in the bud and avoid loaning money to begin with. Rule number 3 is to avoid drinking at the table. Now, okay, sure, you can have a beer, you can have a glass of wine, not be drunk, but I think there's a fine line here, right? If you have 1 drink in your session, maybe you're okay, but it's also the mindset. Like, going into a poker game trying to focus and play your best is different than going there to just relax and blow off steam. And that's kind of the latter environment. When you're drinking, it's kind of that latter environment to have fun and party. And sure, poker should be fun, but it's more fun when you win. And if you are more focused and you're less intoxicated, you play better poker overall. Rule number 4 is to have what's called a stop loss, which is an amount of money that if you lose, you quit the game. And I think typically that's 3 buy-ins for most people. And the reason is because after someone loses 3 buy-ins, there might be a reason. Maybe they're not playing their best, or maybe after they lose the 3 buy-ins, they get triggered and they get emotional, they get tilted, and it's harder to play your best when you're stuck. Your image is also a little bit challenged at the table as well, so it's a little bit harder to make moves and pick certain plays as well when you're losing. So for most people, most of the time that I find with working with clients, they would be better off if they had some sort of stop loss. This also prevents very big downswings, and it kind of nips it in the bud, so you avoid having huge losing sessions, which then are very hard to get over mentally, and they compound to make you play worse in future subsequent sessions. Rule number 5, this was my most controversial take on Twitter, and it's to have what's called a win cap, and that's an amount of money that if you win, you lock up the win and quit the game. I typically recommend this to be like 4 or 5 buy-ins, and I don't necessarily think you have to do this all of the time. You don't have to lock up every single win that you play in every game. Yes, if there's an amazing game and it's an amazing opportunity and it's the best game ever, sure, you stay, but most games aren't the best game ever, right? Those are the exceptions to the rule. Most people would benefit from locking up wins and avoid giving that win back, because when you're up a lot of money, the asymmetry is often to the downside, where you have more at risk that you could lose than what you can gain by staying future in the session. The other thing is that when you lose back a huge win, psychologically it's very hard to get over that, and then you might play worse in the future session. There are other things too. When you're on a downswing, for example, booking a huge win is huge to get over that downswing and start the positive momentum of winning again. Now, all of these rules are meant to be broken. I've broken all of these many times. That's the way the game works. You have to be mindful, be present, be conscious, like the channel, and and try and understand when you have to apply these and when you don't. But they're good frameworks to start on your journey. So leave a comment below and let me know what other rules you think would benefit other poker players as well to help them win more on their journey. Which one was your favorite? Do you agree or disagree with these? I'd love to hear from you guys. Subscribe to this channel. More awesome content's coming. I'm Alec Torelli. I'll see you in the next one.